For almost 2,000 years, one of the most important figures in early Christianity has been, well, completely misunderstood. We think we know who Mary Magdalene was, but the story we've all been told, it might not be the real story at all. So, let's get into it and uncover the truth.
You know, if you ask pretty much anyone about Mary Magdalene, this is the image that pops into their head, right? The sinner, the outcast, the repentant prostitute whose story is all about shame and forgiveness. It's a really powerful image, and it's stuck around for centuries. But the question is it actually true?
Because here's the thing. When you go back and look at the actual Gospels, you find someone totally different. You find the woman who stood by the cross when most of the male disciples had already fled. And, maybe most importantly, you find the person who was chosen to be the very first witness, the first person to announce the single biggest event in all of Christianity, the resurrection. So, how on earth did we get from that to the other story?
Okay, so the mystery really kicks off with this strange puzzle in the narrative. Right as the story is hitting its absolute climax, the crucifixion, a really key character, a woman named Mary of Bethany, just vanishes from the text. And at that exact same moment, this other figure, Mary Magdalene, suddenly appears and takes center stage. Kind of weird, right?
It turns out the clue to solving this whole puzzle is hiding in plain sight. It's in one single crucial event that's actually recorded in all four Gospels, the moment Jesus is anointed with perfume right before his death. Let's break down how each Gospel tells that story.
So, check this out. When you lay it all out like this, the pieces start to click into place. Mark, Matthew, and John all say this happened in a town called Bethany. And while Mark and Matthew just call her an unnamed woman, the Gospel of John comes right out and gives us her name, Mary of Bethany.
And Jesus himself tells us exactly what her action means. He says, "She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare for my burial." So you see, this wasn't just some nice gesture. It was a deeply prophetic act. Mary of Bethany is the one who prepares him for what's coming. And that brings us right back to our big question. I mean, does it make any sense at all that this woman, who plays this incredibly important role in preparing Jesus for his death and burial, would just disappear from the story right as those events are happening? It feels like there's a huge hole in the plot.
Exactly. You know, the scholar Hugh Pope put it perfectly over 100 years ago. Is it really credible? The most logical conclusion, the one that makes the whole story make sense, is that Mary of Bethany didn't actually disappear at all. She just starts being called by a different name, Mary Magdalene. They aren't two different women. They're one and the same.
Okay, so if the biblical evidence itself points to them being one person, that raises an even bigger question. Why was her identity split into two? How did this powerful disciple get rebranded into a prostitute? To answer that, we have to look at how history itself was rewritten.
And believe it or not, we can actually point to the exact moment this rebranding became official. The year was 591. In just one sermon, centuries of history got turned on its head, and a whole new identity was created for Mary Magdalene that would stick for more than 1,400 years. The tool that was used for this is called conflation. It's basically when you merge different people or stories into one. In a really famous homily, Pope Gregory the Great took three separate women from the Gospels, Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, and that unnamed sinful woman, and just blended them all into a single character. And just like that, the powerful witness to the resurrection was officially recast as a penitent prostitute.
And this timeline just lays it out so clearly. You go from the original witness, the first apostle, back around 33 CE, to the official rebrand in 591, and now, finally, to the modern restoration as scholars work to correct this massive historical error.
So why do it? I mean, what was the motive? It becomes pretty obvious when you put the two versions side by side. The real Mary was a leader, an apostle, a powerful model for authority. The rebranded Mary was a sinner, defined by her shame. By recasting her this way, her example as a strong female leader in the church was, for all intents and purposes, erased.
So setting the record straight here isn't just about, correcting a name in a history book. It's about restoring the true identity of one of the most important figures in the entire Christian story, the first apostle. When we put all the pieces back together, this is who she really was. Not a prostitute, but a wealthy, influential disciple from Bethany. She was a companion to Jesus, the one who got his mission so clearly she anointed him for burial, who stayed by his side at the cross, and who was chosen to be the first to tell the world he had returned. She was, in every sense of the word, the apostle to the apostles.
These are her actual words from the gospel, not words of shame or sin, but a bold, world-changing announcement, "I have seen the Lord." This is her real identity. She is the first witness. This is the truth that was silenced for so long.
So, the big question is, why does correcting a 1,400-year-old mistake actually matter to us today? Well, because bringing her true story back to light has this huge ripple effect on how we understand faith, history, and especially the role of women within them.
Here are 3 huge takeaways. First, her real story restores a powerful foundational model for women's leadership that was basically buried. Second, it reframes her journey. The Gospels say she was healed of 7 demons. That's a story of liberation and profound healing, not a story about sexual sin and shame. And third, it's just this incredible reminder that history isn't neutral. It's so often shaped to fit the political needs of a particular time.
The source material for this whole explainer puts it in a way I think is just beautiful. It sees this restoration not just as correcting facts, but as a living spiritual movement. This quote really captures that, the idea that uncovering this truth is a vital spiritual act for our time.
So ultimately, this isn't just about one woman's reputation. Restoring Mary Magdalene to her rightful place is really about restoring the entire story. It gives us a fuller, more accurate, and frankly, a more inclusive version of the foundations of this faith.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of provocative thought. If a figure this central, this important to history, could be so completely rewritten to serve a political agenda, it really forces you to ask, what other histories that we take for granted have also been deliberately changed? What else don't we know?